You're not being informed, you're being conditioned. Because a crisis headline doesn't just tell you what happened, it tells your nervous system what to become. Urgent, angry, afraid, obsessed. And if you're intelligent, if you're a pattern hunter, it hits you harder. Average minds read a headline and react, but a sharp mind does something else. It runs futures, 10, 20, 50 possible outcomes in a few seconds, and your body treats those imagined futures like they're already real. Picture this. It's late. The room is quiet. Your phone lights up like a flare. A headline hits your screen, short, sharp, unfinished. And in the next breath, your mind starts doing what it always does. It tries to solve the future before the future arrives. That urge feels like responsibility, but it's also the doorway they use. That's the trap. The smarter you are, the faster your imagination becomes a threat factory. Not because you're weak, because your brain is built to protect you by predicting what could go wrong. So when the screen says breaking, your mind doesn't just listen, it starts building a world where everything collapses, a world where you're late, unprepared, blindsided again. And you keep scrolling, not for information, but for relief. Tonight I will decode how crisis headlines hijack your mind, and a change of lens so powerful that it helps you avoid being manipulated. And the key is understanding one idea: the future simulator hijack. Notice the trick. The headline is small, but the feeling is huge. That mismatch is your warning sign. Real information tends to make you clearer. Hijack information makes you louder inside. It accelerates you, fragments you, and then offers more coverage as the cure. In a moment, I'll show you the exact 3-step mechanism. Once you see it, you'll notice it everywhere. And more importantly, you'll stop donating your attention to people who profit from your panic. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or blindsided, you probably developed a skill: scanning. You read rooms, you read tone, you read motives. You look for patterns because patterns keep you safe. That's not paranoia, that's adaptation. For a lot of quiet people, pattern hunting started as survival. You learned that being nice didn't protect you, being prepared did. So you became the one who thinks ahead, the one who notices what others miss. While they were performing, you were collecting data. But a pattern hunter has one weakness. The mind hates unfinished signals. When something feels incomplete, your brain tries to complete it. It fills gaps. It connects dots. It creates meaning. That's how intelligence works, by compressing chaos into a model. Crisis media weaponizes that. They give you a fragment, a threat, and an open loop. Could be experts warn, developing story, and your mind does what it was trained to do. It finishes the pattern for them. Then comes the second move, catastrophic extrapolation. You don't go from A to B, you go from A to Z. One headline becomes a chain of dominoes. If this happens, then that follows, then everything changes, then I'm trapped. You can build an apocalypse in under a minute. Here's the painful irony. Your mind can generate consequences faster than it can verify evidence. That's the difference between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence is speed, wisdom is restraint. Crisis headlines are engineered to reward speed and punish restraint, because restraint ends the loop. And the third move is overreading signals. In a crisis cycle, even weak information feels heavy. A rumor feels like a forecast. A prediction feels like a fact. A possibility feels like a verdict. Your intelligence starts working against you because it's too fast to stay humble. This is why smart people don't get hijacked by lies. They get hijacked by incomplete patterns. Because an intelligent mind would rather hold a frightening story than hold uncertainty. Uncertainty feels like no control, so you choose the story, any story, just to end the tension. But the problem is, crisis headlines are designed so the tension never ends. And if you don't notice that, you'll spend your life in a permanent almost state. Almost safe, almost prepared, almost informed, almost calm. Always waiting for the next update to finally let you breathe. One clarification before we go deeper. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's incentive. Fear keeps eyes on screens. Eyes on screens keeps money and influence moving. So the system doesn't need to be evil. It only needs to be rewarded for hijacking attention and punished for being calm. Now let's decode the blueprint. Most crisis headlines are built like a psychological lever. Not "here's what happened," but "here's why you must feel something right now." Lever 1 is ambiguity. They use words that refuse to land. May, could, possibly, feared, reportedly. Ambiguity is not a flaw, it's a hook. Because ambiguity forces the pattern hunter to keep working. Lever 2 is urgency. Breaking, just in, right now. Urgency collapses your internal timing. It tells you, if you don't look immediately, you will be harmed, socially or materially. And once urgency gets inside, calm starts to feel irresponsible. Lever 3 is high-stakes framing. They tie the story to primal threats: safety, status, money, identity, belonging. Even if the event is far away, the framing makes it feel personal. Because the goal isn't accuracy, the goal is proximity, making your body feel involved. Lever 4 is update bait. A crisis story is rarely built to end today. It's built to keep reloading. A new angle, a new villain, a new statistic, a new turn. Your brain becomes a subscriber to uncertainty, and you confuse that subscription with intelligence. Another tactic is authority borrowing. Experts say, officials claim, sources close to. It triggers obedience without giving you anything to evaluate. And then come the numbers, percentages without context, charts without baselines, data cosplay. It looks like certainty, but it's often just decoration for emotion. And here's one more lever people overlook: social proof pressure. Everyone is talking about this. If you don't know, you're behind. That's a status threat, and status threats are gasoline for overthinkers. Now notice what all of this does. It forces your attention into a narrow tunnel. Threat, scanning, checking, temporary relief. Threat, scanning, checking, temporary relief. That's not information, that's a loop. And your future simulator is the engine that keeps it running. They don't have to hypnotize you, they just have to feed your prediction engine a steady diet of unfinished danger. Your mind will do the rest, because it believes it's protecting you. Now we bring in the lens that changes everything. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist who survived the camps. He wrote about a simple but brutal truth. Even when you can't control events, you can still choose your stance toward them. There is a space, sometimes a small one, between what happens and how you respond. Frankl wasn't selling optimism. He was pointing to something colder and stronger: agency. Meaning is not a mood. Meaning is a decision about what you will do with pain, uncertainty, and fear. Crisis media offers you endless uncertainty with no meaning, so you stay hungry, scanning for a moment that never comes. Crisis media tries to steal that space. It floods you with urgency, so your response becomes automatic. It trains you to live in reflex. Scroll, check, share, argue, worry, repeat. And then you call it staying informed. But Frankl's lens exposes the real battlefield, not the event outside you, but the space inside you. If you protect that space, you keep your dignity. If you lose that space, your intelligence becomes a weapon used against you. So the goal is not ignorance. The goal is sovereignty. To look at chaos and say, I see you, but you don't own my nervous system. When you do this, something strange happens. You become harder to manipulate. Because manipulators need your urgency. They need your outrage. They need you to move before you think. But when you move slowly, precisely, you become expensive to influence. So here's the truth. Crisis headlines are designed to hijack intelligent minds because intelligent minds run futures fast. They exploit your gift. They turn prediction into panic. They turn awareness into addiction. And they call it being informed. But your hidden advantage is this: you can observe without obeying. You can decode without spiraling. You can protect your attention like it's a weapon, because it is. And the quiet person who controls his attention controls his life. Tonight, don't swear off the world. Just stop letting strangers program your nervous system. Schedule your exposure. Close the loop, reopen the space, and use your intelligence for building, not for rehearsing collapse. That is quiet power.